there, Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video, and welcome to episode 5 of Finish the 96. This is a mini-series where I look at all of the original 96 Kenner figures and pick out the ones that Hasbro still needs to release in the modern vintage collection. If you want to know more information on what the original 96 is, go back to episode 1 and work your way through. If you have been following this series, you will know that we ended episode 4 with the Bespin Guard, so we'll move straight on to 2-1B. Actually, before we do that, I kindly ask that you click the thumbs up to let me and YouTube know that you've enjoyed the video. Alright, with all that being said, let's talk about 2-1B, the medical droid from The Empire Strikes Back. Now, Hasbro have actually released this figure in the vintage collection. He was part of the special action figure 3-pack, which also included Princess Leia in her Hoth outfit and the wrongly named Rebel Commander, who was then re-released as the Rebel Soldier in TVC 2.0. And don't you worry, we will be talking about the Rebel Commander in a future episode. The issue with this figure is that the 2-1B is a straight repaint of the 1997 Power of the Force version. I'm sure you'll all agree that this figure is no longer acceptable and we need an all-new sculpt. Looking at what they have done with the recent IG-11, we know that it is possible to create thin but articulated parts for the arms and legs. So there is no reason why this figure cannot be drastically improved. However, I do suspect that we will be waiting a while for Hasbro to redo this one, purely because I don't think it's going to be high on the list of priorities. Next on the list is Snaggletooth. Now, earlier on in 2021, Hasbro repacked the Zutton figure, which was originally once again included in a special action figure 3-pack, onto an all-new card back. At the time, Hasbro described this as adjacent to the 96, as the figure and the card back do not match what Kenner originally released. What we need is the original card back, which depicts a Snivian scene in the holiday special. The closest thing that we have to a figure is the Zutmore figure, who was released in the 2001 Power of the Jedi line, although once again he was incorrectly named Zutton on the card. Confused yet? Yep, so am I. Anyway, this version of Zutmore will need updating, and I hope that when they do get round to it, that they include the name Snaggletooth on the name pill on that original card back. Next up is Dengar, who we do already have in the line. He was VC01 and is still one of the best figures in the line in my opinion. So we move on to the Imperial Commander. Now you might want to strap yourself in for this one, folks, because it is another contentious and slightly confusing one. Alright, so the original card back image used by Kenner is actually of General Veers without his battle armor on. He is dressed in a grey tunic, just like he was in the film when he was taking orders from Darth Vader. The figure is dressed all in black, which is more akin to a lower ranked Imperial officer or Stormtrooper officer. In terms of the figures, the last decent sculpt of an Imperial officer was Captain Needa from the Legacy Collection, or the Imperial officer included in the Vintage Collection's Scanning Crew 2-pack. But it begs the question, how do you, the fans, want this one handled? Would you be happy for the original Imperial Commander card back to include a more accurate figure, one dressed in grey with a head sculpt that represents the actor Julian Glover? The name pill could actually say General Veers instead of Imperial Commander. Then maybe the black tunic version could be released on an all-new card back. Or would you prefer them to keep it more in line with what Kenner did and have the figure in the black tunic on the General Veers card back? All very confusing, but I guess it does come down to making sure that at the very least, that card back is released to go towards finishing the 96. Next up is Bespin Luke Skywalker, which we already have, so we move on to the Imperial Stormtrooper in Hoth battle gear, or more commonly known, Snowtrooper. The card back has been released in the modern line before. It was part of the 2006-2007 Vintage Saga collection, and as we have seen with the Endor Leia and the Tusken Raider, Hasbro are happy to update these and put them in the Vintage collection. Many collectors actually quite like this figure, and although I don't think it's too bad, I do think it's time for an all-new sculpt. I think the figure could benefit from ball-hinged hips and rocker ankles, and I'm not 100% convinced it needs a removable helmet. So I do hope that this one is one that they redo completely, rather than just a few updates to an existing mould. I hope they don't leave it too long either, as this is one of my favourite figure and card back combos from the original 96. Next up is Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker in their Hoth outfits, both of which we already have twice as they both have been reissued in TVC 2.0. So we move on to the final figure of this episode. As with last week's episode, the Bespin Guard could be an easy one for Hasbro to do. We have the existing figure from the Legacy collection. He would just need a new head and hands so that it matches the image on the card. Having said that, this isn't something that Kenner mastered back in the day. The original figure looked nothing like the guy on the card back. With his handlebar moustache, he looked more like a cross between a biker and Lopan from Big Trouble in Little China. Anyway, for Hasbro to finish the 96, we need both Bespin Guard card backs in the line. So that's it for this week. 5 more figures from the original 96 yet to be released in the modern vintage collection. Join me next week as we take a look at the next 5 on the list. I hope you've all enjoyed this week's episode. A big thank you to all of my Patreons and channel members for your continued support. And thank you all for watching, and we shall see you on the next one.